Disinilah tempat ayah ibuku percaya takkan ada batas untuk mimpiku bergerak, belajar, tumbuh jadi pelita, terangi langkah ceria. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Disinilah tempat mata hatiku terbuka, takkan ada hati belajar bila tak bisa menjadi arti untuk sesama, temani langkah mulia. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Jadilah warga dunia, pribadi bahagia, ajak hati belajar merdeka. Asahlah dirimu menjadi berdaya, buka hati dan mata, cerdas bermakna, rumah kedua kita. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Masa Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second session of our Year 10 Cikal Bulus Students Personal Project Exhibition, or PPX Talk 2022, with the theme Live Your Passion, Inspire the World. My name is Clarissa Mutiara from Year 10B, and I will be the MC for this second session. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, as well as our outstanding students for their dedication and perseverance in completing their personal projects. Now, some of you may be wondering what a personal project is, so allow me to elucidate. A personal project is a compulsory culminating project of the IB Middle Years program that provides the opportunity for students to explore their interests and the things they are passionate about. The personal project is completed over the course of 3 terms, and in the process, they must go through 3 phases, which incorporates planning, applying skills, as well as reflecting. In this session, we will take a look at Mareska's, Altaf's, Rashad's, Bibi's, and Rasya's personal projects that encompass the theme of environmental issues. So as we all know, there are major ecological concerns that the world, including Indonesia, is currently facing and striving to overcome. Our five speakers here with us have chosen the theme of environmental issues as the foundation of their project. During their individual presentations, each speaker will share their concerns along with how their personal projects intend to address and raise awareness on environmental issues. For our first presenter, we have Mareska Zairdra Tarigan, who will share about her marvelous clothing line coats and how she aims to reduce fast fashion. Please note that if you have any inquiries throughout the presentation, you may, can, you may kindly write them down in the comment section below. However, we will read and answer them later on during the Q&A session right after the discussion session when all the speakers have finished presenting. So without further ado, please extend a warm welcome to Mareska.
Hello, so my name is Mareska Tarigan, as Multiplier said. So today I'm gonna be presenting about my clothing line, Colts. Alright. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've always been interested in fashion since I was like a little kid. I've always wanted to pick my own clothes and buy my own clothes. Like, I wouldn't want my mom to choose what I was wearing. And like in 7th grade, I started to learn how to sew and how to knit and like how to properly sketch designs. Actually, I learned how to sew because I was making like little plushies with my mom. So yeah, and I've always wanted to like own my own business because I just feel like it's better for me to own my own business because I don't like working for other people. Like I want to work on my own. Yeah, and I've always been thinking about making a small business since like the beginning of quarantine, but I've always just like brushed it off because like I didn't really have the time or motivation to do it. So when there was an opportunity for it to be my personal project, I made it my personal project. All right, next. So for the learning goal is I want to reduce the use of fast fashion or fashion waste by remaking a shop that sells rework clothing. If you don't know what fast fashion is a term that's used in the fashion industry. So basically, it's like when a clothing brand mass produced a trending item. Like for example, a striped shirt is trending right now on like Pinterest and Instagram. If you go to Zara and H&M, they would have the exact same thing, and like they would like make so much of it. But these things aren't really beneficial to the environment because making these products require a lot of like factory workers, right? And factory workers are very much underpaid in big companies. So, yeah, and making these products requires a lot of gas and oils, and most of these companies don't really throw them away properly. Like, they would just make more air pollution and throw away the oils into the ocean. So, that's obviously a problem. So, I want to try to help by making upcycled clothing so that doesn't like take oils or gases to make, so it's very environmentally friendly. So for the product, I will make an online shop that sells on Shopee that sells the clothing that I make. Yes. Next slide, please. All right, for the ATL skills. For ATL skills, I need my self-management and thinking skills. For my self-management skills, I need them for managing my time because I have a big procrastination problem. So I really need my self-management skills to organize my time better, especially since when I started doing this project, it was like during the time when semester exam and summative week was happening, and I was like really stressed because I was like studying for semester exam while doing my summatives, and I also had my personal project to do, which was very hard on me. But at that time, I only needed to sew everything together. Like I already knew that like what the designs were gonna be because I already sketched them out. So yeah, so then like I just put a day just to do the personal project. So in that one day, I sewed everything together, and it was really hectic, but I got it together. So yeah, for thinking skills, precisely, I need my creative thinking skills. I need my creative thinking skills to come up with design ideas and sewing patterns because coming up with design ideas that people will actually buy requires a whole lot of research, and like you have to be like involved in it as well because you can't just guess like, oh, this is gonna be trending when I sell it. So I put my products as like stuff that is trending, but like it would trend every year. Like it wouldn't just come and go, you know. Yeah. Also, for the sewing patterns, it's really important because working with different fabrics means like you need different stitching patterns. Like, for example, with this type of fabric, you need the zigzag but for this one, you need straight lines. So yeah, my thinking skills really came in handy. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is my product. As you can see here, yeah, I have five, but the skirt was already sold before I took the pictures. So yeah, it's mostly very trendy designs, but like trendy but casual. Yeah, and that's the shop on Shopee that you can go to right now. Actually, if you want to, it's called Colt's Shop. You can still buy the products now. Yeah. Next. So for the criteria of success, so for the form, I will open a shop on Shopee, which I already did, sell at least 4 to 6 products, which I sold 5. I didn't sold 5. I sold some. I made 5, and upcycling unused clothes, which I did. And I would design and sew the clothes by myself, which I also did. But I want to clarify that I didn't fully sew the clothes myself. My mom did help me a little bit by giving me directions because sometimes, um, like I don't know which stitching pattern to use and stuff like that. So, yeah. But other than the directions, I did everything myself. So for the purpose and function, as I said earlier, I wanted to lessen the use of fast fashion or to reduce the fashion waste. For target audience, I I mainly made this for teenagers and young adults because I think these people are the ones that like, have money to buy the clothes and have like access to Shopee. And like I designed the clothes for these target audience because I don't think that a 40-year-old would like buy it. Or if they do, I don't judge. You can buy it. Yeah. Next. So this is the creation process. Sorry. These are the sketching designs that I made. So when I was sketching the designs, actually it was really hard for me to like make the measurements because I have to make it one size fits all, but not fits all. It would like target like what's most common. So I actually got the measurements from like several people and like adjust them. Like I used my own and like my cousin and some of my friends' measurements and combined them together to make the measurements for my clothing. Yeah. So for collecting materials, so I actually asked my friends and family to donate their unused clothes to me, and they kindly did give their unused clothes to me, which you can see there. And I actually bought the materials from like a local shop, and it was like really cheap. So yeah. So for the product creation process, I made this is me making the product. You can see it there. This is me sewing it, and the one who took these pictures are actually my mom. And in the one with the gray one there, the edge, actually my mom kind of helped with stitching pattern because I didn't know how to like stretch materials, but like put it inside. It was very complicated. So they started making of the logo. So at first I was gonna go for the simple KZ logo, but then I tried out a few more things, and I feel like the full name, but like compact into a circle, was just better because like for the stickers for my shop, which I made stickers to like put on the packaging, it would just look better. So yeah, next please. So I feel like this project definitely impacted me a lot because it made me learn how to actually appreciate my work because I was very much worried that people wouldn't like it or they wouldn't buy it, like my whole project would fail. But that didn't happen because people did buy some of my clothes and I got really good feedback from it. And it helped me also manage my like learn how to manage my time better because if I feel like if I didn't have this, I would be more like confused on what prioritize. So yeah, and I think I think that this project also I would like to think that this project impacted others because while I was promoting the clothing, I like said that oh this is what like I was doing. I was making it from unused clothes and stuff like that. So I would like to think that I like spread the word to at least 3 or like 4 or like 10 people. All right. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
All right, thank you, Mareska. That was a very impressive project. Your clothes are very stylish, and I would love to buy them. Moving on, we have Altaf Farzana as our second presenter, and he will present his documentary film addressing the issue of Jakarta's air pollution. So let's invite Altaf with his personal project titled Udara Jakarta.
Okay, thank you, Mutiara. Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Altaf. I am a year 10 student from Sekolah Cikal Bulus, and today I'll be presenting my personal project, which is Udara Jakarta. So, what exactly is my project? So, my project is a 15-minute documentary film that shares the issue of air pollution in Jakarta. Its purpose and its goal is to raise awareness on this issue, which is air pollution in Jakarta, and to share possible alternative solutions we can all do to prevent and solve this issue in Jakarta. I decided to do this project as my personal project because I have an interest in watching documentary and educational videos, and I think that air pollution is a big threat to Jakarta's environment. So now let's move on to how exactly I made my project and the process behind it. So before making the script or anything, I first wrote it. I started my investigation and research phase by writing down the things I want to write about regarding the topics and subtopics of air pollution. As you can see from the picture right here, it says what I want to research about, and all of these things are all the topics I want to research about in the investigation phase. After listing all things, I then did an online research and relied on articles, websites, government sites, and research papers. After finding all the information I needed based on those sources, I compiled all of the information into one research document so that I can manage my information later on when I want to make my script. So after the online research phase, I moved on to the expert interview phase. So in this phase, I decided to interview Ibu Hernani, which is an environmental engineering professor from the University of Trisakti. I decided that I want to interview her because the topic of environmental engineering is very much related to the topic of air pollution, in which it studies how to solve environmental problems using engineering. So I ended up having her as my main interview. So after my interview and investigation phase, I moved on to making the outline and script. So for my outline, I divided the documentary script into 7 different parts, like the beginning, middle, and end, in which every part has its own significance and has different information from any other part. So after writing the outline, I moved on to writing down exactly what I will say in the documentary through the script. So in this picture, I put an example on part one of my documentary, in which I made the hook and introduced myself on this documentary. So after making the full script from part one to part seven, I made all the voiceovers and videos I need to make, in which that is part of the narration process, in which I basically just recorded and said everything in the script. And I also collected a real footage of air pollution, for example, like here in this picture. And I also collected B-roll footage to be later put on as additional footage in my documentary film later on when I edited my uh, docu- documentary film. So I then moved on to the editing and publishing process. After finding all the footage and videos I needed for my documentary, I edited them. For example, in this picture, I used iMovie because I feel like it's very simple. And then after compiling all the footage and videos, I also added in additional pictures and music because I feel like it would further interest the audience and help visualize the audience on the topic I'm talking about. And as you can see here, I added a diagram of the water cycle and stuff like that. That is, of course, related to the topic of air pollution. And after finished editing, I made the feedback form for the audience to later do after they watch my YouTube video, so that I can later evaluate what I need, what I need to improve after doing this whole project. I then upload the video to YouTube, and I also put the feedback form in the description tab of my YouTube video. So throughout this whole process, two main ATL I used two main ATL skills. For the first one, I used a research skill. So I used my research skill to formulate research questions and subtopics, like in the first step I ever did in this project. And I also used it to find reliable sources to find information and to make sure that information is correct. I also used it to ask relevant questions to the interviewee and make sure that it is related to the topic. And for the second ATL skills I used is communication skill. I first used communication skill to communicate with my mentor and asking her for feedback and then receiving the feedback to further improve my project. I also used it to ask questions to the interviewee and to make sure that she understands the questions I'm talking about. So to hear the message to and for them to understand the message I am talking about in the documentary, which is, of course, air pollution. So next, I will move on to the reflection phase of my project. So there are a couple of challenges, but these two are the main challenges I faced. So for the first challenge is time management, in which the first challenge is I didn't manage to find an interviewee as fast as I thought I would. So based on my action plan, I didn't share it here, but I find an interview by her, but in reality, November 1st, my project. And the second challenge I faced is the promotion of the uh, documentary itself. So even though there are a lot of people, which is 300 people as saw the documentary, only 7 people did my feedback forms. I think this is because I didn't promote it enough. I only told when promoting the documentary, I only told the audience to watch my documentary and not fill in the feedback forms. So this made it hard for me to evaluate what I need to improve if I have the chance to do this project all over. So uh, my the personal impact on this project is that I learned more about air pollution and its solutions, and of course its causes and effects. I also learned how to properly make a documentary film, the process of investigation, editing, script making, and stuff like that. For the community impact, solutions of air pollution and do it in their daily lives. And they can also do those solutions to prevent it from spreading and also share the message to other people. So that is it for my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you for your insightful presentation. Altaf, I strongly agree that air pollution is a major issue in Jakarta, and I really hope that it could be solved immediately. So, thank you for raising this issue. I'll definitely check out your documentary film. Next up, I would like to invite Rashad Malika Indriadi and his personal project in which he created furniture accessories out of scrap materials to raise awareness on waste during the pandemic. Rashad, I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, my name is Rashad, and now I'm going to present my personal project. So before I start presenting my project, I want to explain a bit about my project. So my goal is to raise household waste awareness while also strengthening my design abilities. And for the product, I created furniture accessories out of waste materials. So this is my SMART goal. So as I said before, my goal is to raise awareness of the trash caused by people during the pandemic while also improving my design skills. And I'll track my progress through many ways, but mainly I use personal schedules, journals, timelines, and also photographs. So my project is mainly divided into three steps, and my first step is the initiation phase, during which I will establish the project's purpose, followed by the planning phase, which will include the procedures required to achieve the goals, and finally the execution phase, which will primarily focus on the creation of the final project itself. So, why is this goal important to me? So, I chose this aim because it combines two things that I'm passionate about: design or art, and also about the environment. And I believe that achieving this goal will be extremely beneficial in the future. And lastly, I will reach this goal in April when I have finished my product and also gain feedback as well. So here are my ATL skills. I chose three ATL skills. The first one is thinking skills. Um, so I chose this skill, and I used it mainly in two ways. Firstly, is using creative thinking skills. I mainly use this skill the the des- during when I make the design of the project, which required a lot of creativity. And lastly, I also use this skill in a critical thinking way where I use this skill to solve issues and problems throughout my project, or specifically when I was creating the product itself. And then I also have communication skills. This skill is used when consulting with experts, interviewing friends, consulting with a mentor, and also when asking for feedback. And lastly, I picked research skills, which is an essential part of the project that is mainly emphasized during the inquiry phase, specifically when doing web research, surveys, and also when doing interviews. experts and user interviews. So throughout this project, I collaborated with two experts who assisted in the design and development of the product. And then I also interviewed a few of my friends about how they dealt with waste during the pandemic. So after I did the consultations with my expert, I began to have a better grasp of what the design should look like and how I'm going to construct the product. And after doing the interviews with my friends, I also start to understand my targeted audience and issue better. So here are the main steps of creating the product. So first, I scavenged materials, then I brainstormed design ideas. I created digital and hand-drawn sketches or drawings, and then I bought the necessary equipment and tools. And lastly, I produced the final product. And here is the step when I was scavenging scrap materials from different households. So for this step, I searched for materials in my own household as well as my relatives' household, and I mostly found scraps of wood, which became my main material for me to upcycle. And then I brainstormed design ideas by making a Pinterest mood board. Uh, through this step, I mainly found a lot of my inspirations from, and then I made rough sketches by hand, and after that I transferred the sketches into a digital or 3D drawing, and then I started to actually make the product. I used tools like sandpaper machine, saw machine, a drill machine, and a variety of other tools. So for this step, the first thing that I did was to cut the wood into little pieces. Afterwards, I glued them together, and then I started to drill the holes. Then I carved the hole, as you can see in the picture, and then I sandpaper it, and lastly I varnished it using coating. And this is me when I was sandpapering the product. And here are the finished products. The first one is the pencil holder. As you can see, it's made out of pieces of wood that are attached together, and a hole that is drilled on top of it for the pencil and other stationaries. And I also drilled four other holes on the bottom of it for the legs. And unfortunately, the legs aren't upcycled. And then as for the candle holder, they are also built very similar to the pencil holder. There are also pieces of wood attached together and holes drilled on top of it. Challenges. So the most difficult aspect of this project were most likely the product construction and also the investigation stage, because I'm very unfamiliar with how I'm going to manufacture the product, especially with the tools and equipments that I'm that I need, uh, like the saw machine and the sandpaper machine. And I also struggled a lot during the investigation stage. During that stage, it involved a lot of communication, which is something that I'm not that great at. Personal and community impact. So this program has influenced me to become more environmentally conscious person as well as improve my design talents. Uh, and as for the community, this effort should hopefully have an impact on their environmental behavior. So maybe they could upcycle their waste or use fewer items that would maybe result in waste. My next plan to sustain the project. So I hope that in my future design efforts, I will continue to focus on sustainability and environmental awareness, as I plan to still focus on this area of design in the future and maybe academically as well. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation, Rashad. It must have been challenging constructing the furniture accessories as you weren't familiar with the tools. However, you proved that you were able to pull it off based on the quality of your products. So well done. For our next presenter, we have Sybilla Aleeka Devy, also known as BB, and she conducted research on the efficiency of converting sound into electricity using a piezoelectric system. Now, some of you may be unfamiliar with piezoelectricity, so let's hear it directly from BB herself. Everyone, please welcome BB with her personal project titled Reactron 2.0.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sybilla Devy, or so call me BB, and today I'll be presenting my project entitled Reactron 2.0. This project is a culmination of my love of science fairs and science fiction. I realized that I could do so much more as a student with innovations I could make in my bedroom. The idea evoked an urge to create, but I did not know what, and I never found when until the IB personal project came along. What if I told you that talking just like this can produce vast amounts of electricity? What if I told you that even your small conversations or your tiny groans could contribute to society? That was the concept I chose to explore during this personal project. It became an opportunity for me to examine the idea of converting the abundance of sound into electricity. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I used my parents' lectures to create something as vital as electricity? My goal is to assemble a product that may potentially make affordable and accessible alternative energy to the household of rural areas, developed using newly learned technical skills. This project is important to me because it may potentially aid the global energy crisis. Limited natural resources used to power industrial societies are slowly diminishing as they cannot keep up with the world's demands. It may take hundreds of thousands of years to replenish the energy storage. Despite the many conservation efforts, various authorities refuse to foreground this issue, and the crisis is still looming. Energy reserves and productions have declined over the past few years, while energy consumption has steadily risen with economic growth in Indonesia today. Despite the urbanization of this country, various rural areas still do not possess access to electricity because they cannot afford them. And aside from the lack of accessibility, power generation has also relied on fossil fuels such as coal, oil, gas, diesel, and though increasing the lacking renewable energy. Indonesia was, in fact, the world's fifth largest emitter of greenhouse gas. Though issues in electrification rates in Indonesia are not as prominent as it was before, it's still on the loom for many. We can use the numerous advancements in the world's technology to increase these electrification rates and simultaneously utilize alternative energy that is green and renewable. With a clear goal in mind, I chose two ATL skills that may potentially aid me in my research. The first one being research skills, with the strand of information literacy, and the second one being thinking skills, with the strand of critical thinking, creative thinking, and transfer. Before making this product, I had to conduct background research in my investigation phase, in which I utilized these ATL skills to maximize the quality of my research. Though I had absolutely no idea where to begin initially, as electrical engineering was a broad and unfamiliar concept, I tried to break down the steps accordingly and map out my path to gaining clarity. I enlisted in Khan Academy's electrical engineering course, which aligned me on the concepts of electrical engineering. I highlighted and annotated scientific journals, and despite its passive nature of learning, it allows me to find, interpret, and judge the work presented. I tried learning circuitry through a practical approach. I assembled my own circuitry using a solderless breadboard, and I created information for myself by piecing together the elements and taking them apart to understand their effect. I combed through science websites, read physics textbooks, especially for my IGCSEs, and watched sound harvesting and piezoelectric videos. And despite the things that I've done for my investigation process, it still became a challenge to process and comprehend the information. I needed to know more, but my research was not as fulfilling as I hoped it would be, and I had less and less time. My lack of comprehension is why I resorted to my primary resources, which is someone I can interact with and ask back-to-back questions and clarifications without struggle, and someone to help me guide like a certain direction in my project. The first primary resource I interviewed was Paiwan Sugiartono, which is a physics professor from the National University of Jakarta, on the 12th of November. And due to upcoming projects, we decided to do this synchronously to fit both me and Paiwan's schedules. And I began with the greeting, I proceeded to ask all of my questions, and he then discussed about circuitry, Kirchhoff's law, Ohm's law, sound input, battery storage, and literally the answers to all of my questions. Then my next primary resource was Pa Ahmad Shahroni, which is my former physics teacher from 8th grade, and he helped me gain clarity on assembling the circuit of my project, and I consulted with him about circuit plan to avoid flaws and imperfections. So after my research, I discovered that exceeding amounts of sound could be converted to valuable electrical energy during the investigation process. Conversations between friends, the sound of water running down the faucet, the car horns in the traffic, and its abundant nature makes the possibilities limitless as to how much simple actions can help us produce electrical energy. The properly transformed energy aids in reducing electrical power scarcity across the planet and the usage of electricity from non-renewable resources. So it's a win-win. Sound is a non-continuous form of energy that is difficult to harvest, but we may overcome it using the assistance of piezoelectric elements. And compared to the conventional solar energy systems that we've already used today, this system is so much more efficient and affordable according to my research. So how this works, how the relationship of sound and piezoelectricity can produce electricity is when sound waves travel to a medium periodically, they oscillate, which can be seen over a category of sound sensors. And the most active sound sensors are piezoelectric objects. Because of the kinetic energy of the oscillation and the potential energy compression sound waves displace back and forth. And these sound waves create a mechanical strain on the piezoelectric sound sensor present. The third law of thermodynamics states that we might convert mechanical energy into an electrical power. And thus the piezoelectric disc responds to mechanical pressures by conducting the internal production of electrical energy due to its atomic composition. If you guys want to find out more about piezoelectricity, you can go check out my PPX website. So after all of this, I formulated a circuit plan with the information I'd gathered throughout my investigation process, and it included 4 piezoelectric sensors, 5 1N4007 diodes, 1 microfarad capacitor, 1000 ohm resistor, and 3 light-emitting diodes. I conducted 5 trials in which I had to adapt after every single outcome, whether it be changing the wires or redesigning the circuit entirely or replacing my LEDs. I used the knowledge I learned from the previous trial that would determine better alternatives. And I managed to collect the scattered data throughout my experimental logs. So after previous trials and errors, I deduced that the intensity of the sound level is directly proportionate to the output of the piezoelectric sensor, and this one is the more obvious fact. The higher the sound level, the higher the output, and inversely. The level of sound voltage depends entirely on the level of the sound, but despite this assumption, it took me long enough to discover that the sound level needed to power a small series of light-emitting diodes are very, very high, and I underestimated the amount required to power an LED. I initially hypothesized that a conversation in an ambient room, somewhat like this, was enough to power small light-emitting diodes, but it was not enough, and it was not as simple as I expected it to be. To further illustrate, I'll apply the information given in this graph and compare it to real-life examples. So as seen in the graph, wherever that is, up to 80 dB, the sound level of heavy traffic and busy restaurants was not enough to power the light-emitting diodes despite the voltage produced, as seen in the table. I concluded that if the circumstances were within our daily lives, sound should not be a reliable source of energy at the moment, despite its potential, which is a shame, actually. The small voltage it produces cannot fulfill the human needs for electricity, let alone assist the electrical activity of thousands of human beings here. However, that is not to say that converting sound to electricity is not a system that we cannot implement in the near future. If a more sound-sensitive product captures a more severe noise pollution, we may utilize the sound capture into usable electricity. So if my hypothesis is correct, due to the high intensity of the sound level capture, there should be a higher output from the piezoelectric sensor, and thus it may fit the electronic capacity of multiple electronic devices in our daily lives. So as for my challenges, the first challenge I faced was time management, but mainly for sorting out priorities. I really had difficulty juggling my priorities between the personal project, the semester exams, the summative assessments, and my extracurriculars, and I overcame it by prioritizing urgency. And thus I chose to prioritize obviously studying for my exams and finishing my summative assessments. As a result, it take a toll on my personal project itself, and I had to put my investigation phase for a pause for a whole month. And it became slow, and it really, really took a toll on my action, but I couldn't have done it any other way. Furthermore, I had trouble investigating the concepts of electrical engineering that applied to my product. I struggled to understand written examples of actions. However, I could not see real-life examples or receive offline assistance for this program, considering the situation, especially with the pandemic today. I opted for a passive option to get things done quickly, but it was more ineffective and unproductive and challenging in the long term. But I overcame this problem by utilizing my primary resources. And since secondary resources have me move from one tab to another or asking more and more questions my brain could not comprehend, direct contact with primary resources can give me quick and fulfilling responses, and this saved me so much time and helped me navigate the concepts even further. As for my personal impact, I am grateful to receive the opportunity to pursue one of my ideas, and the knowledge I gain along the way will be beneficial for my future projects to come, as I have enriched my love of scientific projects. This project has become a platform for learning and understanding concepts that I never thought I would explore, especially outside of school, and science and electrical engineering has always been really fascinating topics for me as a child, and now I'm one step closer to fulfilling my long-term ambitions. And not only does this extends my knowledge, my skills, and my interests, this project has successfully helped me pave the way to opportunities for learning and applying the knowledge in a scientific context. I have formulated my desire to formulate a scientific and technical innovation that resolves my current chosen issue, which is the world energy crisis. So for my product improvements and extensions to further sustain the project, and thus this project is a sustainable project. So after this extensive research and experiments, I inferred that the problem relies on the rectifier, which is the voltage multiplier, if you guys don't know. The rectifier is practical in other experiments, but not for piezoelectric sensors detecting sound waves and little electricity inputs. Research from University of Malaysia Police shows that the voltage multiplier significantly shows more voltage output. And I initially wanted to use this on my original circuit, but I decided to use a standard multiplier instead due to the limited time and the arduous effort. The next step is to use smaller wires as to not interfere with the current pace significantly, and use a storage battery to store the energy produced. And I also wanted to add a condensed mic to capture the sound more effectively from the surroundings, but I did got it, but I never got the package from Tokopedia, unfortunately. So with all of these ideas and expectations, I wish to continue this personal project despite the time elapsed, to pour out all of my thoughts without worrying about the lack of time or the lack of resources. And I will seize the chance to increase my desired quality and maintain my research. And perhaps soon I can adapt my research to a larger scale using sounds small and loud, whether it be the human heartbeat or the Jakarta traffic, and apply it to today's society. Thank you very much for listening to my PPX presentation. If you guys have any questions, please put it on the chat.
Wow, BB, what a magnificent project you got there. I have personally gained new insights from your project, so thank you for another inspiring personal project. Finally, our last presenter is Rasya Assegaf with her personal project titled Project Packaged, where she made a campaign and a petition in regards to the overuse of plastic packaging in online shopping. Rasya, you can start whenever you're ready.
Project package. Hello everyone, welcome to the project package. My name is Rashad. I'm a first year in Cikal Bulus High School, and I'm a sucker for environmental advocacy and a lover of all things environment. I've always tried to make a change. I join organizations, I join meetings, and I join propositional-based events like environmental debates. And I'm passionate about sharing my thoughts and ideas for the betterment of my future Earth. My interest and frankly obsession with environment started when I was a itty bitty baby. I vividly remember going to school in 4th grade and learning about the GPGP, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is basically, if you do not know, it's like a big patch of garbage in our Pacific Ocean. And in that session, basically, I learned about the impact of GPGP on marine life. I can still feel the fear in my 9-year-old self when my view of adults as superheroes crumbled at knowing their powerlessness to come up with a complete solution to plastic waste. So, Project Package. What is Project Package? Project Package is a public and private campaign in favor of a more sustainable online shopping experience. It's a campaign gunning for the reduction of unnecessary or excessive usage of unsustainable plastic packaging waste in the online marketplace, specifically Tokopedia as the #1 e-commerce in Indonesia. Specifics. So in my private campaign, I wrote a concern letter to Tokopedia, and it was a long process of trial and error to write a good letter in a professional writing style with proper methods, and it was a similarly long process to send a letter and receive responses. In my public campaign, I made a petition, Instagram page, Linktree, information collection survey, which is a publicized version of a survey that I privately sent in my private campaign. I also made a newsletter and an open letter from the previously private letter to Tokopedia, the letter which I wrote and sent in my private campaign. So, planning. SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic and time bound. So, my specifics was that I wanted to reach Tokopedia to ask and tell them about my concerns about the platform's use of plastic shipping material. Obviously, I understand that Tokopedia and its sellers are two separate entities, so Tokopedia is not directly responsible for the waste produced by their sellers' use of plastic shipping material. However, because the platform is behind it, I felt that Tokopedia had a large responsibility and definitely had a means to reduce the plastic packaging waste. Some ways that I suggested Tokopedia could play this part was by giving their sellers training. Next, I characterized my success by getting a response from Tokopedia. Keep in mind that in my SMART planning, it was all about my private campaign because, as I will explain later, the public campaign was a surprise addition to my project. So basically, I had no previous plans to do it. So next, I characterized some important steps in my project were creating a letter, sending it, and ensuring response from Tokopedia. This project is important to me because, like I said before, I really love the environment. So my campaign time is honestly ongoing because I plan on sustaining this campaign, but for the sake of PP, I was constrained from October to February of 2021 to 2022. Playing. So ATL. So throughout my project, I used and applied many ATL skills, but the one that I arguably used the most was communication. A big part of my project was advocating, proposing solutions, proposing concerns, and raising discussions. All of these elements put communication at its core. In proposing concerns and raising discussions, which, for example, would be seen through my petition, concern letter, etc., I communicated through writing. I communicated using respectful, professional, concise, and modest writing. While when I was advocating to publicly recommend or support, I communicated also through writing, and I maximized the communication by using a particular type of writing. This time, I was youthful, motivational, and persuasive. In my project, I had two forms of research, research for trading and research for data. Trading consisted of sources that helped me learn how to write well, basically how to write modestly, professionally, etc. And by researching for my training, I looked at examples, I looked at formats, I looked at vocabulary. So that's how I researched. And in my data research, it basically consisted of evidence for my writing and background research about the problem, i.e., about my content, my fun facts on Instagram, my supporting evidences, etc. So, on February the 4th, I had a meeting with Assegaf, which is me, who is a 12th grade Cikal student. She's the founder of the Instagram campaign 628 Pause, and from our meeting, I received feedback, tips, and recommendations to make a successful Instagram page and a successful campaign. She basically walked me through her experiences, her problems, and let me learn from her mistakes. She also taught me the basics of marketing and also reviewed my WhatsApp blast messages and Instagram aesthetics. So my project, I already explained this before, but I'll repeat it really quickly. My product is a public and private campaign targeting Tokopedia and its overuse of plastic packaging. Inside my campaign altogether, I had a concern letter, which I opened and publicized. I had an Instagram page, at Project Package. I had a survey, a newsletter, and a petition on change.org where I currently have over 1,500 signatures. So my process. In my private campaign, I did my data research, private survey, I found a way to contact Tokopedia, I wrote my investigation letter to Tokopedia, which is till this date still unanswered. I did my training research, I wrote my concern letter and I sent the letter, and I continued to respond to basically get a response from them. So this basically meant that I kept emailing Tokopedia. I emailed them a total of 3 times, and after certain intervals of time to not be over, and I just started looking at other ways to contact Tokopedia. When I first sent the letter, I sent it through the official and publicized email, but I also tried to send it through emails that I got from my network to get more specific emails and contacts of Tokopedia. From that method, I got 2 emails from there, and I don't know if it was because of these private contacts that I got a response, but at the end of the day, I did get a response from Tokopedia, even though it was like a long time after I already did everything else. So when the emails didn't work, because at the time it didn't really work for me, I was forced to look at other places other than emails. Because without a response, my project felt unfinished, and so I decided to make my public campaign. So in my public campaign, I did my data research, training research, I made a link tree, I put in all my links. I made the forums, I publicized my letters, I made Instagram posts, which is like design, content, everything. And I made my petition letter, I published it, and so actually, after making my petition letter and publicizing it, I had no actual thoughts to market the campaign and actually go through the campaign, at least for the PP, because I thought that I didn't have the time and I was just generally too scared to do the campaign. But after pressure from my supervisor and my parents, I did end up deciding to make the campaign go, to actually market the campaign. So I did end up publicizing my Instagram posts and making my Instagram page public. And I also marketed all my internal links, like my link tree, Instagram, and petition. So reflecting, I faced many challenges when I was doing my PP. Every step was unimaginably difficult. Time management, loss of motivation, etc. However, the biggest challenge was my in-process project changes. My original plan, goal, timeline, everything was that I would only make a letter, send it to Tokopedia, and receive a response. Like I said before, that didn't work out. I didn't get the response I needed. So I was pushed to add a completely new side to my project. I made my public campaign, and that completely threw me off of my plans. Therefore, it was a really big challenge for me to finish and incorporate my public campaign into my project. So personal impact. Personally, this project gave me confidence. It gave me 2 types of it. It gave me confidence in my work and confidence that someone as insignificant as me could start and make a real change. It successfully gave it to me because I stepped out of my comfort zone with 0 expectations and still came out on top. I genuinely had no expectation that anyone would care. This kind of campaign felt oversaturated, and furthermore, I had no thoughts that Tokopedia, a big company, a platform everyone uses, would seriously answer a question of mine. So it was really surprising that I did end up getting an answer, and it was also really satisfying. Community impact. I worked a lot with the community. I tried my best to find people and make them engage in my content. And by doing so, I could hear feedback saying that my ideas were possible, important, and something to be concerned about. I think and I hope that through my PP, the community came out with more knowledge, concerns, and motivations for changes in the wellness industry. So, sustaining the project. My plan to sustain this project is to continue my Instagram page and check back on Wikipedia. Frankly, I'm unsatisfied with the answers that I received from Wikipedia, so I want to push for more. I think I've proven to myself in my humongous doubts that real change is surprisingly not impossible. So I plan on pushing harder for it. Thank you, and because I do plan on sustaining this project, I really hope you can support this campaign and add a project package.
All right, thank you, Rasha. It's nice to hear that Tokopedia has acknowledged your petition. Although their response wasn't exactly satisfactory, I hope that they will lead future changes towards sustainability. Thank you, Rasha, and to all our speakers for your insightful presentations. Now, I would like to invite all the speakers to be highlighted for the discussion session. Thank you. Okay, so first I have a question for Mareska. Since your personal project aims to reduce fast fashion and you seem generally concerned about the issue, does that mean you don't buy fast fashion? If you buy, please explain why, and if you don't, will there be any continuation to your project in the future?
So obviously, I have bought fast fashion before I knew what the problem was. So, but now I'm mostly buying my stuff from small businesses, from Instagram small businesses or Shopee small businesses, because not only are they more cheap, but they also have better quality products because again they're not being mass produced. So yeah, I'm trying to stray away from fast fashion, but sometimes when they do have sales, I kind of go in. But I want to say that if you have fast fashion brand clothings, don't throw them away, because if you throw them away, you're just going to be contributing to the problem. If you really want to get rid of it because you don't want to support it, just donate it, because that would be more that you would be helping other people by doing that. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, to be honest, most of my clothes are actually fast fashion as they're mostly from Uniqlo, H&M, or Zara. However, I am also trying to switch to buying secondhand and sustainable clothing. I couldn't agree more when you suggested that if we have fast fashion clothes, we can always donate them and not throw them away because it would just end up in landfills and therefore causing more damage to the environment. So thank you so much, Mareska. That was a very great answer. Next, I want to ask Altaf. So, Altaf, are there any actions you can suggest to all of us to reduce air pollution?
Yeah, there are actually a lot of actions, but for the main one, you should decrease your fossil fuel consumption. So, for example, when you're going to work or school, you shouldn't just take a private vehicle, but instead maybe you should take a public vehicle that's already uh, supplied by the government, or maybe take a bike or take a walk to your destination, or maybe when yeah, sorry. Or maybe when you're at home, you should turn off electric devices when you don't need them, such as the AC or the television, because if you don't turn it off, it'll just waste more electricity and burn more fossil fuels and create more pollution in the environment. Yeah, that's it for my answer.
That was very well said, Altaf. Taking action as active Indonesian citizens to contribute to the reduction of air pollution is undeniably more crucial than ever, and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels is one of the measures we can take. So, thank you, Altaf. I will personally make sure to implement those actions. Now, I would like to ask Rashad. What advice would you give to people who want to reduce waste by making furniture as well, but are having a hard time doing so?
So my advice would be to observe our surroundings first. I think that there may be two things that we should know and understand before we start, and it is to know what waste materials that we can use and upcycle, and also what issue or thing that we can fix to our product. In my case, I checked in my household and also my relatives' household for waste materials, and mostly I found scraps of wood. And then I also relate my product with common house items that I own, which includes stationaries or pencils and also candles. And yeah, so I believe that we need to understand the materials and the function of our product first. And that's it for me.
Interesting. Thank you, Rashad, for your useful advice. Next up, I have a question for Bibi. So, Bibi, do you intend to pursue a career in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, alias STEM, given your strong interest in physics, science, and everything revolving around this particular field?
Yes, definitely. I do intend to pursue a career in STEM, particularly in engineering, whether it be chemistry or electrical or computer or biomedical, whatever. I've long had an affinity for this, and it would be a shame to channel my passion into something else that I'm not really interested in. So, definitely.
All right. Wow, Bibi, that's fantastic. Hearing what you just said made me proud of having such an awesome friend. I wish you success in all your future endeavors, and I look forward to seeing you as a successful engineer one day. Right, last but not least, I want to ask a question to Rasha. Was it challenging to publicize your petition and encourage others to sign it? Because I personally feel emotionally overwhelmed when I have to communicate with a lot of people, especially when it comes to promoting something in a group chat. So, how did you do it?
Publicizing wasn't a really big problem because I use change.org and that already has a platform, so it was pretty easy in that sense. But yes, encouraging other people to sign it was absolutely horrible. I hated every second of it. I don't really like marketing, it's a really scary thing for me. But I still ended up doing it, and it was surprisingly all right because when I personally asked someone to sign it, they would always give me feedback. Wow, yeah, sure, this seems great. So it was like easy to encourage other people to do it. But the marketing aspect was honestly more, it was thanks to my parents and their contacts and networks that I got so many signatures because I don't really have that many contacts either. And I wasn't really pushy in asking people to sign my petition. So I don't think that by myself alone I would have gotten to where I got now for my petition at least.
All right, thank you, Rasha, for answering my question, and thank you for your excellent responses, speakers. Now, I think we can proceed into the moment we've been waiting for, the Q&A session. To our audience, please feel free to drop your questions for our speakers, as this is the time for us to read your questions and answer them. We will wait a few moments for your questions. Oh, I think we don't have any questions, so that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much for answering. Wait, no. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to everyone that has watched this session up until now. I am beyond grateful to be given the opportunity to be the MC for this second session. Each of your personal projects has taught me a lot, and I would like to thank Mareska, Altaf, Rashad, BB, and Rasha for that. They have greatly inspired me, and I hope that they may also be an inspiration to the world. Our personal project exhibition, however, does not end here. We still have the third session with the theme Equality for Day 1 at 11 a.m. until 12 p.m., so make sure to stay tuned. See you in the next session, everyone. Bye.
Disinilah tempat ayah ibuku percaya takkan ada batas untuk mimpiku bergerak, belajar, tumbuh jadi pelita, terangi langkah ceria. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Disinilah tempat mata hatiku terbuka, takkan ada hati belajar bila tak bisa menjadi arti untuk sesama, temani langkah mulia. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Jadilah warga dunia, pribadi bahagia, ajak hati belajar merdeka.